Greetings, and welcome to The Thirsty Mage, the podcast about to step into the RPG multiverse in order to predict the future. I'm your host and Canadian variant, David Lloyd, and this week we talk about what could come to pass in a series of thought experiments considering some hypothetical situations. I haven't been watching it myself, but I know that the What If of Marvel is out there on the Disney Plus channel, so it got me thinking about a few what if scenarios in the RPG land, and I think it'd be kind of fun to have a few discussions about it. And joining us tonight is no matter what reality we step into, it's safe to assume that all variants of this gentleman will be a fan of RPGs. It's Jordan Rudick.
I was looking at the notes, I guess this afternoon, and I didn't know what the hell you were on about. Like, I didn't know. I was trying to figure out, like, what is the premise of this episode? Like, you're writing down, like, these studios and just, like, what you want them to do or something like that. It was very hard to figure out. But I spent some time, I looked through it, I added some thoughts. And, yeah, I'm glad you brought up you think using What If as a premise is a neat one, because not only is that a fantastic show on Disney Plus, but, I mean, this is what we are doing right now. You know, we're doing this all the time, you know, especially with, there's a Nintendo Direct tomorrow. We're recording on Wednesday. The Direct is on Thursday. We're always, you know, trying to hypothesize about what's coming next. So, yeah, fun episode topic. Looking forward to getting into it. I'm sure there's some disagreements to come later on, but we'll get to those in due time.
Yep, exactly. And celebrating her final night as a single gal by doing thought experiments with a couple of boneheads, it's Paige Detlison.
Well, I'm pretty sure I haven't been single for almost 6 years now. I was actually, by the time the episode comes out, you might have to change the last name too.
Oh, I've never even didn't think of that. In where I live, you're actually not allowed to change your name, so it's
What?
That whole premise is foreign to me. Yeah,
hold on. Okay, this is you can't just drop this in without explaining fully. David, go off.
Yeah, in Quebec, when you get married, you can't just take, like, one spouse can't take the name of the other spouse. You have to keep your original names. Like, you can go through a name change process, but you're literally changing your name. Like, you have to void your original birth certificate and change like, get a new birth certificate with the new name. Like, it's a huge hassle, so no one does it. But it's funny because we actually got married in Ontario, where my wife did take my last name, and then we moved to Quebec, so she had to go back to her original last name. So it was a funny process. Yeah, they didn't even recognize that she had changed her name in another province. So if anyone moving to Quebec, if you change your name once, it's going back.
I did not know that. I lived in this country for 36 years, and I did not know that that's a thing in Quebec. But I guess it's funny that Quebec has a lot of, like, different rules from the rest of the country, and so it's not super surprising that they have something kind of funny, or at least funny to us, rule like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, the rest of Canada uses common law, but we use civil, or
right.
vice versa.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know, like, when my mum and stepdad got married, they both wanted, like, a different last name, so they did, like, a hyphen one. But when the stepdad was trying to change his last name, it was much more of a hassle because everything's just built for the woman to do it. Like, you know, it's not too difficult here to do. But then, yeah, he had to go through a lot more trouble just to be able to do it because the assumption is it's just the woman's doing it.
I guess the most important question is will I be able to pronounce this new last name?
Can you
how many times will it try?
Can you pronounce Chamberlain?
Well, that seems easy enough.
Okay.
Even I shouldn't be able to butcher Chamberlain.
That's until David sees it spelled, and then he's gonna have real trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, or when I panic, it's like I'll get it right 3 times before the show, and then panic when I get to it in the script.
That's right.
It'd be like Chamberlain.
I mean, I think it is a word that sounds the way it looks. You just got to think of
the one from Dark Crystal, and I'm like,
Or maybe when it's time to officially say it, that's when I'll break out my Australian accent.
You're just gonna go as Paige at that point. I think it's just gonna be a one name. We're all gonna drop our last names. It's gonna be David,
like
Jordan,
Adele.
Paige. Yeah,
just going. We're all just one name. Yeah,
that's right.
Seems fair enough. Well, Jordan, before we know what Paige is gonna be doing shortly here, but Jordan, do you have any snack or drink that you want to bring up before we get started?
Yeah, so I know I mentioned this a couple weeks ago that I was going away with some friends over the weekend. So we did that. We bought way too much food. It was funny. This whole week we've been having dinners based on the leftovers of extra food that we bought. So that continues again tonight. But we bought a few different Oreos from one of those specialty import stores I've been talking about. And so the first one I want to talk about, I'll just talk about one today, but the first one we tried was the marshmallow Oreo. And these are funny because I guess I don't know what I really expected. I think I was hoping or maybe wanting something akin to the s'mores Oreo where marshmallow would just be like the inside part of the cookie. It would just be the filling. But that's not exactly what happened here, I don't think. When you look at them, they look like kind of dark chocolate Oreos. They've got like the regular chocolate cookie on the outside, and then on the inside, it looks like a dark cream filling. And it tastes a little bit more chocolatey, I guess. I don't know if they were going for like a toasted marshmallow, but it looks like maybe like a burnt one or something. Like if you held it over the fire too long or something. There's a chewiness that comes after you've eaten the cookie, and I guess that's the marshmallow. It's almost like hard gummy in texture, and I gotta say I didn't love it. And maybe the adjectives I'm using are giving that away. But the marshmallow part just kind of stuck in my teeth afterwards, and it wasn't particularly flavorful or anything. It just kind of tasted like a clear gummy kind of texture was what I was getting at the end. So I'd say the marshmallow Oreo is definitely not a fan for me. I've got two more flavors that I will be talking about on future episodes, so I'm looking forward to those. I guess I can kind of give away. I think I might have given away one of them at least. That's the gluten-free Oreos. I finally got a chance to pick up a box of those. So the marshmallows are probably going to be a 2 thumbs down. I think they're definitely in the bottom tier for me. I don't know what they were really going for with this one. They look and just taste funny, and I mean. Not the biggest marshmallow fan of all time, but I do like it in some things, and it doesn't work out here. So yeah, sorry marshmallow Oreos. You're going to the back of the pack right now.
They can't all be winners.
No, for sure.
Someone has to come in last.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny. Now that I've had so many Oreos, maybe I'm becoming a little bit of a snob. But these ones just didn't. There wasn't really any redeeming.
The Oreo connoisseur.
The chocolate cookie part was good, and I do prefer that when it's chocolate. So that's the one nice thing I can say about it. But that's a pretty standard.
We go to an official Oreo tasting hosted by.
Yeah, we're gonna start it. If I had the stomach for it, we would start our own podcast. But I don't think I'd make it through like 5 episodes. So
you just have to hijack this one. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, he can pick up Cookie Monster to be his co-host for a new one.
That's the one. Yeah. I'll see if he's free.
Cookie Monster would talk about the flavor very much.
Right. Yeah. No. Exactly. He would just devour them, and he'd be full of cookie and be
the
great.
Plate.
But
and Jordan's
I don't know that Cookie Monster has come across a cookie that he's ever disliked. So I'm sure I could find one for him, but. Yeah. What about you, Paige? Obviously, you've got a lot of food decisions to make, or you said you had some drinks that you were going to be trying today.
Oh well, because of restrictions in that, our wedding is basically sort of just us and our mothers for the minimum legal thing. So we don't have like a reception or anything, but I'm definitely gonna be packing a few drinks to celebrate. But normally I just have like my normal. I think the cider I have is like Summersby apple cider, which is I think a lot sweeter than most other brands. Like I've tried other ciders and I'm like, it's a lot rougher.
They've got that one up here. It's good. I like that one.
And it's also probably like, because most of the time the drinks I like aren't even on sale, so it's actually the best value for money because it's like the 6-pack and it's usually cheaper than the 4-packs or something. Like the bottle packs. Otherwise, like when I treat myself, I get the Smirnoff Ice, so it's like the lemon ones in the 4-pack bottles. And then I've always got like just it's funny, I don't drink often enough, but I do have like some liquors and stuff in the little cabinet that I remember that I can use sometimes. Like I'm pretty sure I've got some Midori that I could mix, or you know how there's like Jaeger bombs?
Yeah.
So there's one Or it's something like that, but instead of the Jaeger, you use like Cointreau. So it's like an orange liqueur, and so that's called like Skittlebomb. Although I just have, if I go to a bar, I just have to tell them what two to put in because haven't heard of it. But
That's the first I'm hearing of it too. Like I know Jaeger bombs. I would have thought like Jaeger bombs would be a thing for you because you're always drinking Red Bull, so it kind of makes sense to just add something to that. So.
Well, I don't have any of that at home, but yeah, I think one of the first times I went drinking was the Cointreau with Red Bull, so I'm used to that now. And I'm pretty sure night before the fiance is gonna have a drink tonight, and he showed me the bottle, but now I can't remember what it was.
Does it have a lizard in it?
He said he's gonna enjoy some spicy food while I'm not home.
You're not a fan of the spices, Paige?
No. I like the sweets and
I'm definitely with you there. Like I don't mind spiced like as a taste, but the weak stomach gets me every time there with the spicy food. So Indian food out, anything pepper stuff like that gives me a lot of heartburn. So just one of those things I have to stay away from now. But I feel bad because my wife's family, they love to have curry, so we don't have to eat curry too much. But when we do, I usually just get something for myself.
The trick is you bring some Greek yogurt and you just empty the entire tub over the curry, and it'll be perfectly edible.
And unless you're severely lactose intolerant, and then you need to find.
Then you put a bunch of Oreos
I would love to do that. I like Greek.
I
do like Greek yogurt. But.
All right, you people with your diet requirements.
I know. I am absolutely the worst. And I'm also on the worst podcast for it. But we might all be drinking tomorrow if the Nintendo Direct doesn't go according to plan.
Like you said, there could be some reasons coming up in why we would need some alcohol. And I know one of them is, there's like I mentioned before that the What If TV show kind of gave me a little inspiration for tonight's topic. But another reason for it was the rumors of Microsoft on the verge of another purchase, I guess. There's some studio that apparently Microsoft is on the verge of announcing, but I guess we'll find out in coming days. So that's kind of where we're going with the first thought experiment on our What If. And what I want everyone to picture is a world, and I don't think it's going to be that difficult to imagine this because we seem to be heading this way anyway, is a consolidation in the video game industry where, the big companies keep gobbling up all the little companies, and it just keeps going until really there's, what do you call it, an oligopoly or whatever it is, when there's only like 3 to 5 big players left in the economy, and there's only a few publishers left, and they decide everyone's fate. So I was thinking we would go through each of the publishers and kind of decide who we think would buy them out and what we think they'd end up doing.
What's really funny about the list though is how many of these companies are that, like Square Enix, Bandai Namco.
Like they've already done this. They've already done that kind of conglomerating.
So many Japanese companies are like the double. Like even Koei Tecmo, which isn't here, but like that's. So many of them were they're just hyphenating their wedding name.
It's like the beginning of the Highlander, where there's like a bunch of them left, and they're all like chopping each other's heads off until the very end, because there can only be one.
David, I don't think Paige is going to get that reference. Paige.
It's alright. There was like a Robot Chicken skit on it. It's fine.
Okay, good enough. Yeah, my mistake.
I did sort through the Blu-rays, and I think it was one that he's bought me that we have to watch. So.
Well, you got to watch the original with Christopher Lambert. That's definitely got to watch that one. And how can you beat Sean Connery playing a Spaniard from Japan?
That sounds like
that just
that sounds
writes
like
itself.
its own what if category. You know, how
That
does
just
sounds
writes
like a
itself.
fighting game character or something.
It does actually.
And I don't
Japanese
I don't
tenure.
think he even bothered. I don't even think he bothered to do any kind of accent. I think he just went in with his full Scottish accent, playing a Spaniard who grew up in Japan.
You don't hire Sean Connery and not have him do Sean Connery though. That's the thing, right? Like, just go.
I don't
do
even
your
think you
voice,
could
do,
tell.
do what people expect of you, and then
Nobody tells Sean Connery what to do either, so I'm sure he probably went in with his ice wine and his Jaeger bombs and just, did what he wanted.
I like that. He passed away, right? Like he's no longer with us.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Recently, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't a super long time ago. Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, but as Paige had mentioned, the first on our list is Square Enix. So I guess I can kick things off, and then you guys can comment on what you think of mine, and let me know what you guys think of yours. But I was thinking, like, at the end of the day, if there's only going to be a handful of companies, and the companies I was thinking of that would survive the apocalypse would be like Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, probably what do you call it, like Tencent, Epic, or whatever, and like Valve. So those would be our 5 companies. So I think Square Enix, they've had the partnership with Sony since the late 90s when they switched over for Final Fantasy VII. It seems to be pretty strong. Like all the, they are releasing some Nintendo stuff, and the old stuff's coming to Xbox and that, but all the main titles are Sony exclusives. All the new stuff that's coming out, like Final Fantasy 16, and the Final Fantasy MMO is only on PlayStation, on consoles and stuff. So I just see this, it's just too strong a partnership with Sony. Sony's not going to want to lose that. The Square Enix has plenty of IP that's profitable, so I think Sony is going to empty the wallets to pick up Square. And but I think, and they'll keep chugging along in those big IPs. Like you'll still get the Final Fantasies being pumped out, and all their other big name titles. But I think the kind of byproduct, what will happen, since Sony will keep them as an exclusive, and there obviously won't be any more Nintendo releases in this scenario. I think Sony kills all of the 2D games. So you lose the Octopaths, you lose the Triangle Strategies, you lose the old stuff, the old games. Like those remasters aren't going to happen anymore unless they're on Steam still, and they'll probably completely shut down Tokyo RPG Club, because Sony they're all in on the big budget stuff. So I think that's in this alternate universe. This is what happens to Square, is they end up under Sony.
Well, Square likes releasing a bunch of mobile games, so if Sony makes it exclusive to their mobile devices, then... so, first of all, my answer to all of these questions is going to be Nintendo. That's no reason in particular whatsoever. So personally, I'm going the other way. They should go back to Nintendo. And in a way, they didn't really leave, because they always had stuff on the Game Boy Advance and the DS and things like that. It will definitely hamper some other things, like the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I don't think it's, there's some games where it's not going to go so well with Nintendo hardware. But yeah, thinking on the mobile side, Nintendo has done mobile games, so it also unfortunately wouldn't stop Square Enix from...
They're not going
making
to
a
kill
bunch of
Brave
those
Exodus, because they could take
not.
that out back and shoot it. I would miss that one.
But maybe then we'll get more Final Fantasy music and Smash Bros, because they won't have to fight for enough tracks.
So what you're telling me is you're all in on the Octopath. You want Octopath 6, 7, and 8.
8, do you say?
Yeah. Octopath Traveler 8, where every single eight person party from the previous 8 games. Yeah. So you have 64 characters.
I think you just call it Octopath Squared at that point, right?
Well, that just sells itself. There you go.
That's right, exactly. Octopath Squared Enix. Yeah, it's funny. The last part, of course, that side effect that if 2D games were getting shut down, that wouldn't be a very good thing. But I wonder if Sony would help Square Enix, I guess choose better projects to make. Like there has been some output from Square that hasn't been all that great. I think Outriders was one of them, one of their games, kind of a next gen launch title, and I didn't hear very much about that. They've had other kind of AAA-ish games come out just to no fanfare at all. Really poorly received critically, and I don't know. They just feel like they're just trying to do so many things, Square Enix. So I wonder if they came under a larger branch like Sony and Microsoft or Nintendo, and they could be a little bit more focused. I wonder if that would really help, because they have so many talented people, but they're just kind of spread out, and maybe the way that their resources are used aren't that effective. So I'd love to see Square get back to that point where like everything they were putting out, Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1 era, everything they were putting out was fantastic, right? So many hits and so few misses. But nowadays it's almost 50-50. I think some of their Western, like their Eidos produced stuff, like the Guardians of the Galaxy game looks good. Obviously, we were excited for FF16 and FF7 Remake Part 2. But when they try to do new things, when they try to do new IPs, those seem to be half-baked sometimes. Is Forspoken a Square Enix property? Is that right, David?
Yep.
And that one is... I'm not sold on that at all. Like, it feels generic. It feels like it's kind of another thing that just be easily forgotten. I hope that's not the case, but I wonder if it's going to be just being one of those kind of casualties of Square Enix, not with their a little bit more half-baked new IP ideas that just kind of copy from other sources rather than doing their own thing and really trying to stand out. So I certainly don't disagree with a future that has Square Enix owned by a larger company, but I would hate to lose the 2D stuff, like Paige says.
Although
I wouldn't mind if they lost the Disney partnership.
I'm not sure how much Sony would actually positively foster them with how they've done to like their Japan studio and things like that. But yeah, when it comes to like Square Enix's Western stuff, I'm sure they'd be interested in that. And I imagine them putting like Naughty Dog on Tomb Raider or something.
Well, they could reboot the Deus Ex IP.
Yep.
Like that's kind of really fallen off the cliff, and that I mean that kind of style really fits well for Sony. Really.
Enix, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think their last game was Mankind Divided, and I enjoyed that one. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I think the first one's Human Revolution, then Mankind Divided. I liked both of them. I think Mankind Divided was a little bit better. I enjoyed that one a little bit more. They're funny in that they're smaller. They feel open. They're not quite open world, but they feel like there's a lot of different things you can do. It almost reminds me a little bit of Yakuza Like a Dragon, kind of a very self-contained world. I think there's more to do in Yakuza, but I liked I like the Deus Ex reboot games well enough. Even if I think it is quite different, maybe from the original Deus Ex games, and maybe that's why the new versions didn't grab the same audience. Maybe they tried to change it a little bit too much, but maybe go back to that original formula and try to remake it again. I don't know. You could do that.
Well, I would have to think that a remake is at least being talked about of the original. You would think just with it's been so long since that game came out, and it still has an aura of mystique to it that people still think it's one of the better games. So you'd have to think one day maybe they'll go back to that.
Well, if anyone is going to remake something, it's someone owned by Sony, because Sony is all about the remakes right now, right? They remade Demon Souls. They're remaking Last of Us. And I'm sure they're not done there. Even Uncharted is getting kind of a remaster. The fourth Uncharted game is kind of getting a remaster of sorts too. So it seems like an initiative of Sony in this PlayStation 5 era is to bring back popular IP in an updated form. Which I'm not against. Like I know it can be a little bit overkill, but when you miss out on these games and then a new version comes out that is better in every way, like that's kind of fun. Like it's like, oh, I waited and my missing out on a game is actually turning out to be a fortunate event. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Well, we can move on to the next developer, which is Bandai Namco. So for these guys, I figured, at this point, Microsoft doesn't want to fall too far behind on the Japanese, developer acquisitions. So they'll probably pick up Bandai. It just seems like these games might be something that you could see coming like to Xbox, like when you look at something like Scarlet Nexus, and then I keep forgetting that Elden Ring, I think, is a Bandai Namco game. And although I can't remember if From Software has anything, like they're part of that, right? It's like a collaboration between the two, I think.
Bandai Namco's the publisher.
Bandai's the publisher. Yeah. So you could see like that kind of be a package deal. So then you got like you have Xbox kind of stealing the Dark Souls out from under Sony. So I could see that happening.
Well, I think in general, just Xbox is a good answer because you get Game Pass, and most of the things will also be available on PC. So it's not a bad wish to make. Although, gotta remember, Bandai Namco works on Smash Bros. So what's gonna happen? What are you gonna do?
I'll shed a tear, a single tear for Smash Bros.
Yeah. So yeah, generally Xbox can just kind of be a good default argument for any publisher, but they definitely have been trying to pick up more, especially because Xbox oftentimes just wouldn't even get a lot of the games. Would just be like Nintendo and Sony, and that's it.
Yeah.
So they've been trying to get that more now. So they're definitely something they'd be interested in. Although, if Nintendo got Bandai Namco, then at least maybe the games would release on Switch not 6 to 12 months later and on the cartridge and not partly download digital. So there's that.
I think any Nintendo hardware that tries to play Elden Ring, I think would just melt in your hands.
I mean, the thing about Nintendo buying any of these companies... They
just have to turn it into a pixel art game.
God, the pixel art Dark Souls. I'm sure someone has used that phrase in a review. I probably have myself. The thing about Nintendo buying any of these... The thing about Nintendo buying any of these companies is that, it would almost necessitate another Switch or iterating on the console sooner, because it would be a waste to buy someone like Bandai Namco or Square Enix whose resources are going so much towards, cutting edge games or AAA games, that if you can't run them well or they don't look good on your console, what's the point in having one of those companies? So unless Nintendo had something in the pipeline or they were going to announce a new console, maybe you could pair that with acquisition of one of these companies. But it's never really been Nintendo's MO to buy companies. They buy second parties that have already been working with them for a long time, rather than these larger companies that already have their own multi-platform output. So I don't disagree with Bandai Namco. Maybe being another Microsoft pickup. Microsoft still needs a stable of JRPGs and RPGs to add to Game Pass, and that is the nice thing about Xbox and Microsoft picking up studios, is that all of that stuff is going to Game Pass. And eventually I'm going to pick up an Xbox, and eventually I'm going to I'm going to sing the praises of Game Pass. But from an outside perspective looking in, I can recognize still how awesome a value it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Game Pass is like a lot of potential at this point. It's not, I don't think it's realized yet, but lots of potential.
Yeah.
If these companies are up for acquisition, maybe it's like when Capcom was doing bad and they were trying to sell themselves before they eventually picked up and did well. So maybe we wouldn't be losing too many projects.
Next on our agenda is personal favorite of mine, and one that I have a lot of personal stake in, and this is Nihon Falcom. So this one, I'm going a little bit off the board with this one, because I think with Nihon Falcom being traditionally a PC game maker, this one ends up going to Valve. I think Valve doesn't really have any exclusives to really speak of. Like they have Half-Life, like that VR game. But I mean, most of the stuff anything you find on PCs, pretty much everywhere, like on a console somewhere for the most part. So there's not a whole lot of exclusives. But I think if there's all this consolidation going on, Valve is going to have to reach into the coffers of their probably billions and billions of dollars in the bank they got on some Caribbean bank stashed away somewhere that we don't know about, or tax free in Ireland or wherever it is that these companies hide their money. And I think they pick up Nihon Falcom. I don't think it'd even be that big of a purchase, really. Like I don't know if they're all that large to begin with. So I think I could see them buying them and then basically putting all of the Legends Hero stuff and all the Eve stuff. Like a lot of it's already on Steam anyway, so I could see them looking at them as their Japanese developer for their exclusives, and so then we end up seeing all their games going forward on Steam on I guess exclusively.
Yeah, Valve is a funny one because I don't know how much. I mean, obviously, they've got Steam Deck coming, and when the Steam Deck comes out, maybe you could pair an acquisition with Steam Deck at the same time. The thing is, all of these games are going to come to PC anyways. I just don't know what they gain by buying this company and making them maybe exclusive. If anything, you'd maybe want to buy them and still go multi-plat, right? Like buy Falcom just to get a piece of that pie when they release their games, or maybe to help them with their output. Like this was kind of the thing that I was leaning towards in talking about this company, is that they might need help with the production and the localization of things. It's not the writing or the design of the games or maybe the brainstorming. I think they've got those things down pat. But it's actually getting the games into the market, especially the Western market, that is their issue. If Valve could help them do that, fantastic. I thought I think Nihon Falcom could be a good maybe acquisition by Square Enix. Square Enix having that long history of doing RPGs like Nihon Falcom. Obviously, Square Enix is a much bigger company, a lot more money to throw around. And this would also could replace maybe Tokyo RPG Factory, because Nihon Falcom is already doing a lot of traditional RPGs. So you wouldn't need, studios that haven't worked out as well. You could kind of, maybe amalgamate those teams and get people working on Tokyo RPG Factory. Just help Nihon Falcom with the games that they're already working on and putting out games in the future as well. So I'd love to see this company bought by somebody, just because I want more of their games to come out sooner. And I think that the fact that they've kept everything in-house has stunted their production. And maybe it's also the thing that can be credited for the how good their games are, right? How nostalgic they feel to play. But it does kind of suck to wait years for them, or to know that so many of the games are stuck on specific platforms like the Trails in the Sky games. It'd be great to have someone come in with money and say, hey, let us take over the porting duties, the localization. Let us put these everywhere so that more people can play them. I'm all about someone helping out with that task.
Oh, I see. Even their new games always look like they're a couple of generations behind, and therefore are perfectly fine to go on Nintendo hardware. Let's not talk about how the Switch poor runs a thing. I mean, maybe if they're owned by Nintendo, they'll actually have someone put effort into making sure that doesn't happen. But yeah, I just had to make the joke about being like a couple of generations behind, but then I remember they can't even get it.
I thought David left the call when you said something bad about Nihon Falcom games. Yeah. As soon as Paige started disparaging them, David's like, podcast over.
Yeah. Well, when you started talking about Nihon Falcom getting bought by Square Enix, I started thinking like, okay, you just stole my answer to what if a genie gave you one wish?
Yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah. And then Square gives Nihon Falcom the Final Fantasy VII remake engine, so that all the characters are in full high def, and the world is like this 3D paradise. Yeah. Like,
so everyone knows that David would betray the world and not ask for a cure for anything because he wants his games.
Yes. I would gladly let the world burn if it meant I got a Legends of Hero series in the in a 3D remake style of the Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, I'm in it for me. That's it.
If we were talking monkey paw scenarios right here, if this happened, Square Enix actually did buy them, they'd bring them exclusively to Switch, and you'd be forced to play them all there and over again as you do.
Yeah,
exclusively to mobile episodically.
Oh, yes, that is a real monkey's paw. Nihon Falcom has been announced as a mobile-only studio from now on.
Yeah. Okay, we're moving on. We don't need to jinx anything here. So our next on the list is Sega, or an Atlas therein. And again, sir, I started off with all the Japanese companies because I think this is kind of where I think a lot of the moving and shaking would happen if there was a quick consolidation. And I just think there's a great partnership already, or at least a perceived partnership anyway, between like Microsoft and Sega. It just seems like kind of a good match there. And it kind of gives, I think one of the things, I know for me personally, this has been one of the reasons why I've I kind of passed on Xbox One, and I did buy Series X, but I'm still kind of disappointed in the Japanese RPG catalog they have on it, because it's really kind of pitiful. But if they pick up Sega and obviously get Atlas, then they get some pretty big heavy hitters in the JRPGs. Like I would assume that the entire SMT catalog would make its way to Game Pass, and especially since Microsoft is such a big proponent of backwards compatibility. So you get to play all the SMTs, and that would include like all the Personas, because right now Persona 1 and 2 are, I don't even know how you get to play those. They're pretty hard to find. And yeah, even Persona 3, like if you're not playing it on your Vita, then it's again pretty hard to find. And Persona 5 is locked to Sony, and Persona 4 is either again like Vita or Steam. So just having access to all these Atlas games, I think, would be a pretty neat thing.
Yeah, this is obviously like the biggest one, and I feel like we've talked about Square Enix maybe making some management missteps. Sega feels very mismanaged to me. I feel like they're always just sitting on money, or making bad decisions about what they bring out or what they don't bring out, where they don't put games. So I would love to see someone come in here and really take care of business. I like the irony of answering the question: what if Sega actually does what Nintendo don't really ever do? And this would kind of like bring an end to the original console war if Nintendo actually just went ahead and bought Sega. We've seen kind of partnerships between them before, right? We've seen Nintendo put Sega games on their Wii Virtual Console, for example. It would be... I just think it would be funny for the two original companies that really were competing in the 90s to be like, oh, okay, now Nintendo just bought Sega. And then we don't have to worry about, not bringing the Atlas games, at least to Nintendo, but everywhere, maybe. With Nintendo in charge of managing Atlas properties, we can see remasters, releases, all the SMT games and Persona games. Maybe Persona 6 becomes a Switch 2 exclusive. I don't know. That'd be fun. But yeah, there's so many games that Atlas specifically owns that they could just drip feed them, and it's still a wonder why you can't play Persona 5 everywhere, Persona 4, 3 everywhere. So yeah, maybe Nintendo comes in and just takes care of business like that. But I'd love to see Sega bought by anybody, frankly, just because I think they need someone to make better decisions than they do. So
I'm not surprised in the least that you went with the poetic end to the console wars.
Yes, exactly. Hey, we're all friends here. Let's have Sonic. I mean, Sonic and Mario have been, shaking hands cordially ever since they started playing Olympic games together. But let's make it official. You combine them as one company and or under one company, and put it into it for once for all.
Until their first game is Mario versus Sonic.
That's right. Yeah.
So, like I said, yeah, Xbox can, win by any default because you just get the Game Pass and stuff like that, and PC as well. But yeah, and point for Nintendo is that Joker is in Smash Bros. So, we've got it's all about Super Smash Bros. We've got Bandai Namco works on it, Cloud's in Smash Bros, Joker's in Smash Bros. There's all the spin-off games. Yeah, I'd definitely go for Nintendo, and not just because that is my answer for everything.
It's funny, Nintendo probably is the least likely to buy any of these companies, but it would maybe make us, some of us, pretty happy to see that, just because, Nintendo, their games are quality for the most part, barring my 5.5 that I gave WarioWare Get It Together, if you would check that out. But yeah, I know. According to YouTube, a lot of things. I didn't play the game. I didn't finish it. Take your pick. But yeah, I just think it'd be really fun to see Nintendo pick up a company like Sega. Nintendo, I think, would be more aggressive with their back catalog. Nintendo is starting to really bring back some franchises that we haven't seen for a long time. Advance Wars, WarioWare, Mario Golf finally got a game. Maybe we'll see Mario Strikers next year. But that recognition of the value of your IP, I think Sega is not very good at that. And Nintendo is getting better at that with their theme park, with a Mario movie coming out. They're starting to realize that the characters and the franchises that they have are worth money. So let's see that happen.
So I mean, we've talked a lot about Nintendo. It's clearly near and dear to all three of our hearts. I guess if there ever is a consolidation wars, we all obviously hope Nintendo does well. And but I guess they would be a good company to end with. And to me, like Jordan has mentioned, like the Nintendo really isn't a company that buys other companies. Like they've only made a handful of acquisitions to begin with, and they even let Rare walk out the door when it was such an important part of their catalog at the time. So
and the irony is Rare has done very little since. That is the greatest what if, and it's probably beyond the scope of the episode for now. But like, if Rare had stayed with Nintendo, do we get Banjo-Kazooie on all the consoles and more Diddy Kong Racings and stuff like that? Are they the Donkey Kong Country developers as opposed to who does them now? Not Next Level. Retro, I guess. Maybe Retro sticks to Metroid Prime. We get more of those games or something like that. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah. So my answer for Nintendo is that they just keep doing what they're doing because that's what they always do. And I think what they might end up doing is just purchase a few small indie companies. And a few of the ones that I was thinking of is like. You got like Thunderful and Way Forward, because Way Forward I think is the Shantae
Way Forward
series.
Would be good. Yeah, Way Forward Shantae. Yeah, Way Forward is Shantae. They're doing Advanced Wars remake.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
yeah, they definitely be good.
Why am I blanking on the Shovel Knight developers?
Oh, Yacht
Club.
Yacht Club, yeah. I think they buy like something like that. Good. I wondered if they'd pick up like Supergiant just because. It seems like their games are pretty, like, when Hades first came out, it seemed like it was the Nintendo crowd that really was pushing it at the beginning.
Didn't it come to Switch first?
It came to Switch to first, yeah. I was just going to say, that's probably why.
That was huge and smart, I think.
It was early access and Epic, and then when it came out fully, it was just Switch and PC. They've only, like, just this last month.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was playing that on Switch when it came out. And it's a good suggestion, David, because their games are really well suited to, they're not graphically intense. They're very story focused. Good music, good gameplay. All of those things transfer well to Switch. I mean, we talked about Bastion and what was the other one?
The girl with the big sword. Why can't I think of the big sword?
Oh man, that's brutal. But at any rate, like we know.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that forgot the title.
Yeah,
of that
that's right. Like, if so, it was too long ago. We played too many games in the meantime. But I love Way Forward. The call out for Way Forward. They're already working on Advanced Wars, like Paige said.
Do you mean Transistor?
Transistor, that's the
yes,
one. Yeah,
that's it. Transistor, yeah.
I'd love to see Way Forward take on maybe some more GBA revivals. Maybe Golden Sun, something like that. If they could get the IP, work on a remaster or a remake of that, that'd be really cool. I think Way Forward has earned they earned enough credit to make some of their own, make some games like out with other people's IP. I think some maybe Advance Wars Reloaded is kind of like a practice scenario, almost like what Grezzo had, right? Grezzo doing like their own games, doing some remasters. They did the Link's Awakening one. Maybe they're going to get to do more of those, or maybe do their own Zelda game or something. That'd be cool. So Grezzo, I think, seemed another one that a target for Nintendo. I'd think.
Yeah, there's a lot of ones of like sort of second ones that seem second party, or might actually be, and then Nintendo does pick them up actually. What's an indie company Nintendo should get? Mistwalker.
Oh gosh, yeah. No kidding.
Temptation on Switch. Let's go.
If Sakaguchi stays on though, because it sounds like this might be it for him.
If Nintendo buys,
I guess they get the back catalog.
Maybe not.
Maybe just buy Mistwalker exclusively to get Sakaguchi's last game, and then you can say like, we got his absolute last game, so you can take that, Square Enix. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
That's what you get for leaving.
Well, there's your poetic ending. Another one, Jordan. Another poetic ending is Sakaguchi. After all the bad blood in the '90s, he comes full circle and returns home. Returns home to Nintendo.
That's the theme of this What If episode, is why can't just everything, everything ends the way it began, right? Like that kind of nice renewal, rebirth kind of motif or something. So that'd be fun.
Well, we got one more question up on the docket. I guess you could consider this like the last call, I suppose. And this ending is actually it's a negative ending. It's a a worst case scenario ending. And I was thinking because I actually wanted to watch this movie again for some reason. If we lived in a world where there's this like V for Vendetta style civilization where people have decided that video games are the bane of society, and there's this massive outcry against them, and everything's being destroyed. Anything that has anything to do with video games is being burned, and so we're kind of sitting around panicking, and obviously we would all build doomsday vaults to protect what was important to us, and so I'm curious to find out from you guys is what would you put in that vault? So this could be pretty much anything. It doesn't have to be an actual game. I know I've got a few it's video game related, but not video game stuff. And so I guess if you need to visualize something, think of that scene in V for Vendetta where I don't remember her. I guess it's Evie is the name. I think I can't remember Natalie Portman's character's name, where she goes to the talk show host's house. Gordon, and he shows her this vault of all these things that are like banned, and it's basically like things that there's art on the wall and there's displays and stuff. So I'm curious. So what would you have in something like that if things came to that point?
Yeah, I was thinking about things that don't take up a lot of space, but that can maybe reveal a lot or give you a lot of nostalgia or information visually, however you get it. Obviously, some easy answers would just be like, download 200 games on a ROM that you can play on your DS or something, right? Like a ROM card like that, something like that. You'd probably want to have something like that. But I wanted to shout out a couple of books that I'm very fond of. One is Console Wars by Blake Harris, and again, there's that reference to the Console Wars again, because this book is about Nintendo and Sega. It's a pretty long book, but it's a really good one. I certainly recommend it to anyone interested in the 90s video games and what was actually happening with Nintendo and Sega at the time. And then I know David's going to reference one of these later, but one of the Bitmap books, they have an separate. These are separate. They have an NES visual compendium and an SNES visual compendium, and you get to see like some images from games. There's a little bit of a blurb for each game. They're kind of like little encyclopedias a little bit. I think they're great just for like reminiscing about the libraries of those games, and getting to see if I'm not mistaken, it's actually every page is like a full cover screenshot sort of the games that they're representing, so that's pretty cool. And then you have the blurb written by a handful of people, a lot of them in the video game industry, a blurb about each game. So I love those compendiums. I love everything that Bitmap Books does. It's a little bit expensive to ship it here to Canada from the UK, but it's often worth it just because they're really high quality books too. So those are some books I would save. David suggested maybe choosing a soundtrack. I think it's really hard to argue with Yasunori Mitsuda's work on Chrono Cross. Chrono Cross is probably one of the first video game soundtracks where I actually downloaded the music and put it on a CD. And I would just play that. I remember being on bus trips for like high school basketball, and like I'd be in my Sony Walkman, I'd be listening to the Chrono Cross soundtrack basically on repeat, and it was awesome. And then a final thing, just again thinking about nostalgia, and I think something that people are trying to collect now or to find individual issues of. and that's Nintendo Power. You know, I had a Nintendo Power subscription when I was growing up. I always looked forward to getting new issues. I had a lot of the players' guides as well. I think having a complete collection of Nintendo Power would be pretty cool. Obviously, it was a magazine, a publication that was very biased towards Nintendo. But if you were already a Nintendo fanboy, like they were saying the things you wanted to hear, and then the strategies, the tips, the letters, the artwork, all of the stuff that went into that magazine was pretty cool. I still miss it, even though we don't really have time for magazines as much these days. And some of the ones that do come out are pretty cool. But the Nintendo Power, just something I have a lot of fond memories of for sure. I think those things I would keep in a vault, and I didn't want to take games as much. I think that's a little more obvious, but just some things that would remind me of games.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good list.
Well, see, it's a vault, so I could just fit my entire game collection out. I don't see what the the issue is. I know you're going for more solitary items, so I mean, I did recently pick up Big Brain Academy card game based on the Nintendo DS game, so clearly that is an important piece of history we can't miss out on.
Paige, can you tweet that? Can you tweet about that later? I'm very curious to see that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, well, I haven't played it yet, but I'm playing it because I was looking at getting the DS game so I could do a video because I've only ever played the Wii one, and then I saw a card game and I was like, what? I bought the card game instead.
That's so random. I had no idea there was a card game version. I loved the DS version. I'd actually never played the.
I was like, okay.
I never played the Wii one, but my partner, I loved the DS one. Big fans.
I'm assuming your Ryza statue it gets a prominent display in this vault.
No, but she's just an anime figure, so it's okay. She's not banned. It's okay. She's just.
She's in a video game. They're gonna burn it.
Shh.
She's video game adjacent. Depends how strict they're being.
Picking individual things. Yeah, it's like, is there one amiibo that's more important than any other? Like one that unlocks something in a game I'm gonna keep? Is there? Do I keep my my most expensive anime figure?
I imagine your anime figures are worth a lot more than your amiibo. I would say.
Oh, I don't know. How much does Box Chibi sell for?
Do you have a Box Chibi Robo?
Actually, yes, I said QB, but yeah. I didn't take Chibi Robo out of the box just because I like his art, and I didn't get the game, so I'm never going to use him for like actual. I only keep them in the box if they're like really rare, or I'm not going to actually use. Arguably speaking, I would use the other ones for whatever purposes they unlock in the game. But yeah, otherwise if it's just particular pieces, and not even necessarily has to be in my collection. That's a lot harder. Like, I wouldn't know what book would I pick, because would I pick Encyclopedia Eorzea's when we wouldn't be able to play Final Fantasy XIV ever again? Would I just make myself sad? And music, I don't know if I could pick a game soundtrack. I mean, I do have my. I don't know how they released it elsewhere, but there was like for Smash, like Wii U and 3DS, there was, if you back in Club Nintendo days, if you owned both the 3DS and the Wii U version, I'm pretty sure you had to, then you'd be able to get a CD that had the soundtrack. So that's something. It's just something I already have. So, although it's a bit banged up from actually being used. So that's if I have to pick one, then it's like a bit of a mix of a few different things to remind me of a time when life was worth living.
Well, I was going to say, if Final Fantasy XIV were banned, you guys would probably just, you wouldn't be long for this world, I don't think. But you just imagine your productivity would skyrocket.
We'd find a truck so we could isekai into the world. Send us off to the new world of Eorzea.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'd be some underground club where people are only playing Final Fantasy XIV, and it's pray it doesn't get raided by the police.
Underground servers?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be like Cuba, where they have all their Ethernet cords connected to everyone, so they've basically got an internet just by having all the wires from everyone's computers connected.
I'd be the Al Capone of the Final Fantasy world. Selling, it'd be like the bootleg, and there'd be a bar, there'd be a tavern in some tavern in some city where the wall. I pull a book down and the wall moves, and
Yes,
there's just all
like
these
the
people on
Simpsons.
PCs.
Yeah. instead of the pet shop, like the pet
It's
shop.
a very good
It's
good
the bar
reference.
to cover up the game.
So you've got FF14 on one side, Pet Shop on the other side, and everyone's hiding their mouse and keyboard behind their backs instead of beers.
Yeah. Well, if all of a sudden they announce the banning of video game stuff, I think the first thing I would do is get on a plane and head over to Square Enix's headquarters, and start tearing the Amano artwork off the walls to adorn in my vault to make sure that future generations are get to relish in the artwork that he's done over the years. I know. I'm pretty sure Square, like, that's where all of the like original artwork for the logos and games and stuff is, like, a lot of it's at the Square headquarters. I know he also has some artwork at the Mizuma Art Gallery in Japan as well, so I might have to slide on there on the way out just to see if there's any video game related stuff in there. But I think, like, artwork wise, that's kind of what I would want to grab for the walls of
Pulling off a heist.
my Doomsday Vault. Yeah, pulling off. That's right. I have pick up 12 friends and we clean them out and leave with no trace. For music, like, it's pretty hard to go. Mitsuda has a whole lot of soundtracks that are worth saving.
Definitely.
Also, I think Shimomura has plenty of soundtracks that should be saved as well. If the feds had a gun to my head and said I could only keep one, I'd probably keep the Final Fantasy 15 one, just because it's a bit of a cheat answer when you have, like, the soundtrack itself by Shimomura is incredible, but then you also have all of the old Final Fantasy stuff that gets played in the Regalia, so you'd have a whole history of Final Fantasy titles there just in that one individual soundtrack. Kind of go along the same lines with Paige in the sense that I would try to keep my own personal collection hidden away if possible, like my original NES and the 12 to 15 games or whatever it is that I own. It'd be nice to be able to have those. I would definitely shoot anyone that I needed to shoot to get original English and Japanese physical copies of every Legends of Heroes series. It would be there'd be some Walking Dead moments of getting those out of the hands of whoever I needed to get them. There's no way if all that's going down, then they're gonna find me buried in some coffin somewhere with just those, like, wrapped around. Like, I'll just be hugging them close to my heart.
Yep.
The same with I also thought, like, you should have some books so that obviously we're not going to be able to keep every video game safe from the fuzz, so you're going to have encyclopedias or books so that we can at least remember what was
carved out
there.
with games inside them.
That's right. Like Jeremy Parrish's NES and Game Boy Works, he's got a bunch of Virtual Boy now, and a whole bunch of great books there. There's also the JRPG, the Guide to Playing JRPGs from Bitmat, so that'd be a great one to have as well. So at least we'd have the knowledge that those existed. So I guess those are the things that I would have.
My final tip is to not hide your Nintendo Switch cartridges in your mouth.
Are you speaking from experience, Paige? Is that something you have done before? Like, I don't know why you would have a cause to hide them from anybody, but...
No, I just mean, like, when people have to suddenly, like, talking about the cops actually coming up, if you panic, don't try to hide them there, because I never gone out of my way to lick a Switch cartridge, but I think I did accidentally put one close enough, and I was like, what is this? I'm like, oh, this is the Switch.
How do you accidentally put it that close? That seems a little bit...
I'm the kind of person that would put, like, styluses in them, just, like, hold it at the edge of my mouth or something, so...
That's like putting a pen or a pencil in your mouth. That's a little more natural,
yeah.
But a Switch cartridge, I don't know.
I full on put a Switch cartridge in my mouth. I had to know. I'm the type that has to know.
Proud of myself for not doing it on purpose,
how bad
but then
was
I
it?
accidentally did it.
Oh, it tastes like licking a skunk's behind.
Oh my gosh.
You know what that's like too? Did you do that like the trend everyone else was doing?
So So our next episode of What If, we compare Switch cartridges to animals and different parts of them. Yeah.
Hey, when you're in Canada and you're driving along a country road, you can taste the roadkill when you drive by a skunk. So
Yeah.
that's basically what a Switch cartridge smells like or tastes like. Sorry, is driving past a dead skunk, and then getting a little bit of it up, a little bit of the smell on your tongue. That's basically the smell right there. The taste.
Yeah, I didn't lick or shove the whole thing in, but it was just like a little bit of common mouth, and I was like, oh, what is this disgust? Oh, whoops. Like, oh, like what is so awful? Oh.
If you actually swallowed it, I bet you it would make you throw up. It's that bad.
Oh yeah.
Like if it goes down, it's coming back up.
The real question is, what if we didn't end the episode with this kind of talk, or if this tangent that we've gone off?
Then we wouldn't have such a loyal audience.
Or we might have retained half our subscribers or something like that.
This is for science. This is for science. What happens when you swallow a Switch cartridge?
Oh my gosh, I don't ever want to find out.
Nintendo comes and forcibly gets it out of your body because you've damaged their.
No, they come by with a cease and desist order.
DCs.
We're heading down a path that we can't come back from, Jordan. You better finish it up. Yeah, it's. I should have wrapped it up 5 minutes ago. That's my mistake. I want to thank everybody for joining us for a look at our own kind of video game what if with some companies and what they could do, what they might do, what maybe they've done in the time since we recorded this. Who knows what's going to come in the next day or so. But yeah, fun to talk to David and Paige about a topic like this one. We've got we just recorded an episode last week on Metroid: Samus Returns. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it for that one, but you can hear David and the Talk Nintendo boys. That was our previous episode. Still going to work on a Tales of Arise episode coming soon. There's got to be, well, hopefully this Direct will get Game Boy games announced, and we can throw in some classic smaller titles to talk about in the weeks coming up. But Triangle
Strategy.
I hope. I'd love to see more Triangle Strategy. Maybe another demo. That'd be really fun because that's kind of their MO, right? Is giving an updated demo.
I'm gonna set up so many elemental tricks.
If there is a
Stealth Drop would be nice too.
Yeah, exactly. I that would be a stretch for that one. Maybe Stealth Drop of something else like the Pixel remasters on Switch, so I can win a bet from David. That'd be nice too. We'll see. Definitely lots to talk about next week in terms of the Direct and anything else that happens. But yeah, thanks again everybody for listening. You can find us. If you haven't already, subscribe on your podcast player. leave us a review. Helps with visibility. You can check out Paige's stuff on her YouTube. Her YouTube channel is Paige G Guy. Is that right, Paige?
Yep.
And that's not going to change once you get married, right? You're not living in Quebec.
That's part of why I changed it to that. I don't have to worry about confusing people.
There you go. Smart thinking ahead, right? I just, like I said, I mentioned earlier, I just posted a review of WarioWare. Get it together on NWR. You can check that out. There's a YouTube video as well. I also posted a feature that I put together with some of the staff at NWR on crossplay on Nintendo Switch games. You can check that out as well. Anything else to plug, David?
No, I think that covers it. Just with like you said, the Tales of Arise coming up. And what other games? I'm replaying Cold Steel 4.
I don't know how you time for replaying a game like you just finished. Like, I feel like you just finished Cold Steel 4 and you're right back at it. Like, I know
it feels that way, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
Well, you say just finished, but then I played like 4 other Legend of Heroes games in between the time I played CS4 and this replay. So
right.
I'm like 200 hours of Legends of Heroes between the 2 replays. So, and I'm at hour 40 of my replay now. So, which is about the halfway point.
I don't know. There certainly aren't enough hours in the day that I guess your kids are back to school, so you have a little bit
Eastward,
more time on your hands.
Eastward, we're playing Eastward too, so that'll probably be an episode.
That's cool. I have to pick that up every time I see it. Looks better.
Yeah, I did my review on it, so that's on both RPG site and my channel. And that's actually, despite being a bit late, actually doing better than I expected, so I'm happy for that.
Popular game?
Right on. So everybody at the Thirsty Mage is busy as usual. We will see you again next week, everybody. I'm not sure what the topic's going to be. We'll have something fun to talk about soon. Probably recap the Nintendo Direct as well. And yeah,
we should buy Eastwood and we can talk about that.
I think people should buy it. You know, it's been reviewing really well. Like it's got that little RPG mode built into it that David's like, oh, Jordan, he's gonna love this.
Earthborn.
Earthborn, yeah.
Earthborn.
It looks so good. That might be reason enough for me to pick it up. But yeah, thanks again, everybody, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.